Good morning, Fraser Road. Today is day 97, and we're in chapters 19 and 21 of Judges. Starting in chapter 19, we have the story of the Levite from Ephraim and his concubine from Bethel, Judah. We are not told whether or not he had a wife. His concubine is unfaithful and leaves him and goes home to her father. 4 months later, he decides to go and possibly win her back. On the way back, he ends up staying in Gibeah at an older man's house that is also from Ephraim, who is sojourning there, as no one else will give him a place to stay. Some reprobates knock on his door and demand to take the Levite visitor so they can have relations with him. The older man asks them not to do this evil thing, and then offers his virgin daughter and the Levite concubine instead. Gibeah sounds more like Sodom. They convince the men to take the Levite's concubine, and then they willingly give her to them. They have relationships with her all night, then leave her, and she ends up back laying at the doorpost on the ground. The Levite in the morning is ready to leave. He opens the door and he finds the concubine laying on the ground, shows no compassion and tells her, "Get up, we're leaving." She's not moving, she's dead. No mourning on his part, he simply puts her on his donkey and goes home. Then he does the unthinkable and dismembers her with a knife into 12 pieces. Then he sends these to all the territories of Israel. And all Israelite said they have never seen such a terrible thing. And it was obviously gruesome. Now all of Israel is stirred up, and around 400,000 swordsmen and some chiefs show up at Mizpah to discuss the event. The Levite then tells them the story and stirs them up even more. Punishment was appropriate, but when anger and mob rules arise in unity, rash decisions can be made. They make a decision that no tribe of Israel should offer their daughters to be wives for the Benjaminites. We'll find out later they regret this. Then they send some men to the cities of the Benjamin to try to convince them to give the men up. Instead, the Benjaminites amass an army of 26,000 swordsmen and 700 sling throwers. They decide to support evil actions and war against Israel. Then Israel seeks counsel for the battle from the Lord. They're told for Judah to go first. In the battle, they lose 22,000 men. They go weeping to God and inquire again in the battle. The next time, they lose 18,000 men. Then they decide to go to the house of God where the Ark of the Covenant is. They fast all day, make burnt sacrifices and peace offerings. Now the Lord tells them to go up tomorrow, and I will deliver them into your hands. Now after sacrifices and fasting, they get God to fight their battle and new battle plans. Sounds more like the battles now that the Lord won for Moses and Joshua. In the battle, 25,000 Benjaminites were killed, as well as all the men, women, and children in all the cities, and the cities were all burned. However, 600 Benjaminite soldiers had fled and were hiding in the caves of Rock Rimmon, where they stayed for 4 months. In chapter 21, now the Israelites realized that the tribe of Benjamin could go extinct as they had no wives. Oops, bad rash decision back in Mizpah they just made. No wives. So what do? They go to the house of God to basically complain, why has this come to pass in Israel, that today there should be one tribe missing? Unbelievable. No repentance, no humility, no honoring God, no unrepentance. Bad heart condition. The next day, they partially come to their senses and build an altar there and offer burnt sacrifices and peace offerings. God does respond to this change in behavior. He never wanted to withdraw his help from Israelites, but they broke his covenant. key for us today. Keep your heart right and stay humble and keep in right standing with God. He longs for that relationship and longs to help us. Now, alas, the children of Israel find a loophole to get wives. An oath was also made at Mizpah that whoever was a no-show there would be put to death. Nobody from the camp of Jabesh Gilead was there. There's no explanation why. They did not want to get involved. As a result, they became the scapegoat. This would be at the cost of the lives of all the men, women, and children except for the young virgins. And so they were all killed. Now, word was sent to Benjaminites that were at Rock Rimmon that they wanted peace and they had virgins for them. So they came down from the caves and took the virgins as wives, but there were not enough virgins. So the Israelites complained again and wept, stating, "The Lord had made a void in the tribes of Israel." What? That was on them, not God. They still did not get it and had not changed. Reminder for today: don't make rash decisions. Inquire of the Lord always. Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. And he will straighten your paths in the wilderness and make a river in the desert. Wait on him so you don't suffer the consequences. Also, there's wisdom in a multitude of counsel. So they're still short some wives, so they come up with another plan and scheme. Kidnapping. Yep, kidnapping. Unbelievable. They give the plan to the Benjaminites of how to kidnap the virgins of Shiloh during the yearly feast of the Lord. Hide in the vineyards, then snatch them when they go out dancing and take them home with you, thus breaking the laws and customs for virgins and their fathers, along with all the grief it caused. You just can't make this stuff up. It just doesn't stop. A reminder in Isaiah, when God chooses to bless a country, he gives a good, strong, wise king. Israel needed a king because they could not stay in covenant with God on their own. They did things that were right in their own eyes. Blessings.